here. Thank you for staying. We have the last panel, last but not least. I think this is a very interesting panel because, as you know, AUB has a long history of community engagement and community impact. And this panel is intended to just give you a flavor of some of the work that AUB is doing to engage the community in relation to gender. I'm going to start with the order as per the program. So I will start with Ms. Fida Kanaan, who is the Director of Executive Education at Olayan School of Business at AUB. Fida, welcome.
Well, good evening, everyone. And I wanted to thank the organizers for asking me to represent the City Web program. You know, I wanted to also touch on a saying that Dr. Fadl Khouri had said, that behind every successful man, there is a strong woman. It turns out, though, that behind every woman entrepreneur who wants to succeed, there seems to be, well, to a very large extent, a vacuum. This is where we think that the City Web program came in to fill in partially this vacuum. Let me start first with a short video by one of our program participants about her key takeaway of the program. I think Maya's here. Can you do the voiceover? Oh, here. Yeah.
AUB's Women Entrepreneurship Program has been a very enriching experience for my business and me. I started my business a few years ago out of passion and out of a desire to do things differently, but now things are looking much more structured. I now know what a business plan is, and I've been able to create one for my business. This has given me confidence in everyday decisions that I have to take regarding our positioning in the market and our pricing. Our value proposition is now going to be the guide for everyday decisions that I have to take, and this used to give me a lot of headaches in the past, but now things are looking much clearer. My company now has clear mission and vision statements that will be guiding the company's direction for the next few years. I will also be doing yearly assessments and working on the strategy to keep the company growing in the right direction. I realized that so many things I spend my day doing can actually be delegated so that I divide my time differently and use my time in order to be more productive, and the same applies around the office. I've been thinking of ways to divide the tasks of people in the office in a way to become more productive. So I've also been reviewing the organizational chart. Now we actually have an organizational chart at the office to help us better understand what each person should be doing. Set up other branches for the company that would each be focused in a different field. I'd like to thank everyone who contributed to the program because it's been a very beautiful experience. Thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Here with us. I wanted to also thank all the City Web program graduates who joined us today.
Business a few years ago out of passion and out of a desire.
Okay, I muted it. Okay. All right, so definitely yes, women constitute more than 50% of our population, and definitely it's imperative that we support them to increase their entrepreneurship activity, which is today as low as 4%. But most importantly, it seems that our ecosystem today has plenty of educational support for organizations to open the businesses, new businesses, and not enough really, if any, to sustain it or grow it. In that context, it seems that a lot of these women entrepreneurs have some predestined fate to either stay solopreneurs alone, or potentially, freelancers, or maybe shutting down their businesses in the slower economic conditions. This seems to be pretty unfortunate, and as such, we aimed in the Women Entrepreneurship Program to focus on women in business who have been there for 2 years, and to provide them with a focused educational program on institutionalizing and formalizing their businesses and having a clear strategy on understanding general business acumen on one end, and on the other end, on bridging our effort to other ecosystem players that might be able to augment what we've done and provide them with a wider net of support beyond the AUB net that we have. So what has been the impact? Of course, we cannot change something that we're not aware of, but once we are aware of it, I think we cannot help but change it. In the one-year follow-up with the companies that we worked with, it was gratifying to see that many of these businesses have gone through major change in their outlook and a revamp in not only their strategy, but also their operation. We also saw many of our new graduates move more confidently to new market and capitalizing on the knowledge and the networking that they've had during the program. We also were very happy to see a lot of them joining other programs, such as the 10,000 Goldman Sachs. 2 women out of 3 that went to this program from Lebanon were actually graduates from our program, which we think are great. A lot of them were featured in magazines like the Jordanian venture magazines as leading startup entrepreneurs to watch for. So how could we make this program possible? First and foremost, there is no way that programs like that to be offered by AUB to be self-financed. For this, I would definitely like to thank City Foundation for its generous financial support, which helped really catalyze the initiation of this program on one end, but also allowing us to have a free hand to identify the need of the entrepreneurship community, especially the women in the community, and be able to target this need. It was also very nice to see that this contribution was somehow augmented by a lot of AUB's core team. Dr. Dima Jamali, who made sure that all the channels were open to kind of move this program forward. Dr. Karam, who definitely brought in the gender dimension. Dr. Azad and the Darwaza Center for bringing the entrepreneurship education, which we know is not a straightforward thing. And definitely the Executive Education Office. So externally, it was also nice to see that this effort was augmented. It seems like this philanthropy feeling, kind of spilled over, and a lot, we had probably more than 10 speakers and lecturers who came in and contributed, pro bono for their time to contribute to this program, and we were very happy to see this being expanded. So what did we learn, and what's next? What we learned is definitely that women executives are highly determined, definitely highly committed, hungry, looking for knowledge, and looking for support. A lot of them we've seen now are part of women networks, such as the Blessing Foundation, the Lebanese League for Women in Business. And we also learned that there is a lot that can be done through education. As executive education, we partner with a lot of organizations, and if AUB is today trying to model, an organization, one of the key organizations actually in Lebanon, and one of the biggest employers, an organization that can actually work on gender equity and be a model for others, I think we can also do more with the partners that we have in executive education as we move forward. So we definitely would like to see behind every successful woman a support system where men and women contribute to close the gender gap. And we believe that education with impact can take us a step further towards this goal. Thank you.
Very good timing as well. Thank you, Fida. We have also on the panel Ms. Dominique Anid, Health and Nutrition Officer at Environment and Sustainable Development Unit and founding member of the Food Heritage Club. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I will be presenting today some of the work of the unit where I work in, the Environment and Sustainable Development Unit, and trying to highlight the champion ladies that we work with through our projects. So just to give you a brief overview of our unit, it was established in 2001 as an interdisciplinary research and development unit at the Faculty of Agricultural and Food Sciences. Our unit is a regional leader in rural sustainable livelihoods, and we move forward with the motto exploring solutions and defying uncertainties. The approach we usually use is a participatory one. We try to put the people at the center of our programs. So as you can see, we have a very nice gender balance in our unit. We have very active ladies in the team, some of which are even volunteers. So ASU has always been involved with the community-based projects in the poorest areas of the MENA region. So we've worked in several countries, in Lebanon, in Jordan, Yemen, Morocco, with groups of women. Now, we also focus on building the capacities of women development actors. So we have had various programs where we try to build the capacities of women around different topics such as urban agriculture, food security, monitoring and evaluation. We are also hosting a regional online network, KaryaNet, for the management and sharing of knowledge, information and experience in agriculture and rural development. And recently we are hosting a master's program, the R-Code, so rural community development, and we have around 80% of our students who are actually females. So our main focus is the local food system through women empowerment. We have 3 main programs where we engage a lot with women. So the first one is the community kitchens. These are women-led initiatives. We have started working on these initiatives since 2012, where we were trying to involve Syrian, Palestinian, and Lebanese women to work jointly through these kitchens to provide food assistance or healthy snacks to schools. During these projects, we build the capacities of the ladies around food safety, healthy nutrition, recipe standardization, and kitchen management skills. We work in several areas. Currently, we're supporting kitchens in the north, in the Bekaa, as well as in Beirut. And these ladies, through all the kitchens, are actually feeding around 1,000 vulnerable families per day. This is one of our lead cooks, Layla. This was the first community kitchen that provided food assistance in Akkar, in Minyara. Our next program is the Su'asu. It's a mobile farmers market that visits AUB on a monthly basis, so some of you might have visited the market. We also work a lot with the women producers through this program. And the idea behind the market is to try to bring the farm to the city and promote and preserve traditional and healthy food. So we've also worked a lot with ladies on food safety, best agricultural practices, marketing skills, etc. We have very active producers. For example, Hana, she has an amazing healthy sweet line and she's always innovating. Our third program is Darb al-Karam. So it's the Trail of Generosity. It's also a food tourism trail connecting 9 villages in the Higher Shuf and the West Bekaa. It aims at increasing and diversifying the income of the small farmers, food producers, local guides, bed and breakfast operation through the development of touristic packages. So we work a lot with women hosts on this trail. On capacity building and several different activities. So here you can see Lina, who's a very enthusiastic lady on the trail. She has a tableau d'hôte, and whenever she has guests, she has also money-making activities to propose to them. Now, ESDU will be celebrating its 15th anniversary this year. So we will be holding a regional conference entitled Arab Women, Keepers of the Land, where we hope to pay tribute to the women champions from the various projects that we've been supporting. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Dominique. We have also on the panel Dr. Abla Sbai, who's professor in the Department of Epidemiology and Population Health, and she's also the co-founder of the University of Seniors at AUB. Welcome, Abla.
No, just the microphone.
Oh, it's working.
Oh, okay. Okay. So thank you, Deem, and good evening, everyone. I would like to start by thanking the AUB Gender Equity Group for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this event and to talk about the university, the AUB University for Seniors program. It's a program very, very close to my heart, and I'm very passionate to talk about it. I've listened to several interventions, presentations, each unfolding one story or another on gender equity. In my intervention, I will share with you our story of the AUB University for Seniors and how the program is providing its members, who are mostly women, with a platform to fulfill their aspirations, to remain engaged as they age, and thus serving as a model to redefine old age and defy the negative stereotypes of the aging process in Lebanon and beyond. I'm so happy to see many familiar faces from the University for Seniors program. I thank you for your engagement, for being part of the AUB life, and for being here today. It's now well known that women face age discrimination earlier and more often than men, and ageism interacts with gender inequality to shape our role as co-workers, as wives, as caregivers, grandmothers, or simply as social units in our community. So why the University for Seniors? And what is it offering to aging and older women specifically? Let me start with our story. In 2007, in-depth interviews were conducted by the Neighborhood Initiative, led then by Professor Cynthia Menti. There, we learned that a good proportion of older residents in Ras Beirut area were living alone, with significant gender differentials in certain characteristics. For example, women were 6 times more likely than men to be widowed, and many of the single-person households in the neighborhood were likely to be composed of older women. Older people voiced their concerns that with their children and grandchildren being mostly abroad, they had limited social and cultural opportunities and too little prospects for mental stimulation. Simply put, they said, we don't want to kill time. We want to use our time and engage in useful and energizing activities. Not only they were understimulated, but they were also underutilized. They felt that they had so much knowledge, so much wisdom, so much experience and cultural memory, but yet with little opportunities to share. In response, the University for Seniors was born. The first course offering was in the spring of 2010, following an extensive feasibility study, focus group discussions with the neighborhood, and a pilot survey among our older AUB alumni. Over the years, the program has developed beyond our expectations. It has grown exponentially since its inception. From 3 courses offered in 2010 and less than 50 enrolled members, this term we are offering 21 courses, 30 lectures, and 5 trips within Lebanon and abroad. We already have over 260 enrolled members and close to 1,600 subscribers on our mailing list. So what is special about the University for Seniors that makes it a pioneer, unique, and impacting the lives of our aging population and older women? First, the majority of our members, close to 80%, are women. who take real pleasure at being on campus, rubbing shoulders with AUB's regular students and faculty, and being part of the AUB learning community. Members participate in the program governance and strategic planning, the steering committee, the curriculum committee, the social committee. Some of them are lecturers, others are study group leaders. As such, older women are empowered and feel that the University for Seniors is an achievement. In their own words, this is the first thing we have ever done for ourselves, and not for our husbands, children, or others. Through the UFS, we feel more confident talking about diverse topics and issues. We have something meaningful to discuss and feel that we are getting more attention at home and in social settings and outings. Also, the program offers educational material on gender-related issues to both men and women, so we are educating the other gender as well on gender-related issues. Members are more informed and aware about gender issues through various lectures and classes. To cite a few, we had sessions on العنف الأسري بروايات النساء والرجال by عزة شرارة بيضون، أهمية مشاركة المرأة في العمل العام by رامي لقيس، النسوية العربية فكر وناشطية by حسن عبود، Party Politics, Religion and Women's Leadership by Fatima Zbaiti Qasim. This term we are offering Why Was Killing Shahrazad Necessary? On Being an Arab Woman Today by Jumana Haddad. We had also several book discussions that focus on women's issues. For example, we discussed the book by Nawal السعداوي امرأة عند نقطة الصفر, another one by عزة شرارة بيضون مواطنة لا أنثى. This is an addition to health-related sessions about sexual health and aging by Dr. Faisal Kak and women's health by Mary Arvia. The program is indeed a pioneering initiative situated under AUB's Continuing Education Center. We recently knew that geriatricians are prescribing it for their patients. The program, that's very true. The program addresses the aspirations of many older adults to remain intellectually energized and socially connected. It challenges stereotypes by creating a new and positive image of aging in Beirut, Lebanon, and the region, one that offers a visible proof that engaged aging is possible in the Arab world, that it contributes to healthy and successful aging. For us, words such as your program is life-changing, or the UFS has become our reason for being, are a testament to the program's value in the lives of our members and its success. The program has defined age and wisdom. It has broken boundaries between AUB and its community, and we believe it is having a great and positive impact on our community. One last word. When we stop celebrating the International Women's Day and start celebrating the International Men's Day, then I think we should have realized by then our potential. Thank you.
Very well said.
Yes, UFS members, Zaifi.
Very well said, Abla. Thank you so much. Okay, on the panel also we have Rabia Shibli, who is the Interim Director for the Center for Civic Engagement and Community Service at AUB. Welcome, Rabia.
No. Thank you for inviting me to this panel. I'm representing the Center of Civic Engagement. I will definitely not exceed the time limit. I have two narratives that I'm very pleased to share with you. These are two projects that we implemented in 2012. And I have a forthcoming book chapter entitled Ensuring Hope in Militarized Landscapes. So the first project was implemented in Ain al-Halwi refugee camp. And the second one is in Marwahin village, which is a southern borderline village. When we were discussing with Charlotte a few weeks ago about what the center does, and then when I get the invitation to speak in this conference, We don't have intentionally structured a plan for engaging women in our projects. But when I was reflecting on our KIP project, it was all about women's role. From the conceptualization of the idea, the development of it, to the implementation. I'll start with the first project. Al Hilwi, we're presenting a previous project we've done in Sabra camp. And there was one of the international agencies present in that conference, and they sought our help or assistance in terms of figuring out what they should do in Al Hilwi. They had a project, they had a certain funds, and it was mainly looking into urban agriculture. And we had interest because we had a lot of students back then and one of the clubs working with us in the same camp. So we were interested to work and figure out what could be done in that camp. We went there for several site visits, and it was very, very complicated, the situation. We had to sit down with the local committees. You have like 21 factions meeting together. You could see all the banners in the streets. But at the end of the day, we couldn't find like a viable partner, credible partner to work with, till we met Hussam. So Hussam leads a group of ladies in one of the UNRWA schools. And I'll just share what she said, and this is like an opening for the whole project. She said, I grew up helping my father, who was a farmer from Tarshiha, cultivating our front garden. In an instant, I decided to quit school and just focus on agriculture. Business was going well for a 12-year-old. But my father refused. Coriander was my specialty. With little attention, it yielded great return. Following later additions to the house, the front yard was gone. I moved my garden to the rooftop and even set up a plastic greenhouse on part of it. A few years ago, my nephew built on the roof. The new rooftop is made of corrugated sheets. With nowhere to plant, I opened the hole in the kitchen wall, fixed a wire mesh and the cover, and planted my climbers. So she devised her own strategies. For her, green or agriculture was kind of a window of hope. That's why it came up, the title, Ensuring Hope in Militarized Landscape. Then when we dig more and researched more about Al Hilwi and why are the females so much empowered, I found the documentary, The Kingdom of Women, and it's a brilliant documentary. So also I'll read, after the Israeli invasion of Lebanon in 98, Al Hilwi was destroyed and its men imprisoned. The Kingdom of Women documents the resilience, community spirit, and valor of women from the camp during this period, how they rebuilt the camp and protected and provided for their families when their men were held in captive, and it goes on. This is a very realistic and true story. So when the men came back, you couldn't put women back into the houses doing nothing. So the UNRWA had to find something, and you have plenty of vocational training centers in Al Hilwi. Wherever you go, you have a vocational training center. So they turned a lot of the conventional schools into vocational training center, focusing on the conventional hairdressing, sewing, and the other. But all of them were so fond of greening, agriculture, having some sort of inducing some greenery in this dull, gloomy landscape. I'll end up, it's only going to be one story. So the project developed and we did implement in the school. We had the big urban agriculture project. The ladies came into AUB. They had a lot of training in the Department of Agriculture. And now the project is beautiful. Thank you. I'm not going to go to the second case. But
Thank you. I really want to thank each panelist for keeping the time. And I think this is great because I know we want to wrap up. And last but not least is Dr. Charlotte Karam, who is... You all know her, but she's chairperson for the biggest track in our school. And also she's associate professor of organizational behavior and also the engine behind this conference. So thank you, Charlotte. The floor is yours.
I'm going to talk a little bit about there's my height. I'm going to talk a little bit about the KIP Project and stay within the 7 minutes. So the KIP Project stands for Knowledge is Power. And really, the KIP Project, we were very, very lucky. It's a 2-year multidisciplinary project that has 2 phases, and I'm going to break it down into these 2 phases. We were very lucky to receive a grant, a little over $400,000 with the cost share of AUB from the US State Department. It was a federal assistance award. And the focus of this award is really to begin to think about gender and sexuality in its broad lens and to begin to mobilize a conversation within AUB across the different faculties, across student body, and to make connections between student and faculty and staff in these issues, but also to begin to build bridges between academics and civil society, first and foremost, and also between academic, civil society, and other key stakeholders like public sector, private sector. So this is, the spirit behind the KIP project. And as I said, there are 2 phases. I'm going to talk mostly about phase 1 because that's what we're doing now, and then end with what's coming next, phase 2. Phase 1 is all about supporting data gathering and supporting knowledge generation. And so what myself and my wonderful advisory board and also my wonderful director who is here, Zainab Haidli, what the momentum that we wanted to build was to start asking questions, start mapping the landscape of who is working on gender and sexuality, what are they doing, and how can we start bringing them together to start talking to each other more. Because we knew that there are wonderful things being done. People are talking, groups are talking, but we just need to have resources to make that voice louder and make that chorus of multiple voices louder together. And that's the spirit behind the KIP project. In the first couple of months, what we have done is we have brought together in roundtables and in various conversations, INGOs, academics, people from the medical field, NGOs, government, social enterprises, businesses. Here are some of a few. I'd like to point out that we have 2 very strong community partners right now, which is Women in Front, as well as AFE, the Arab Foundation for Equity, Freedoms and Equality. KIP's engagement with these multiple stakeholders through conversations and roundtables really helped to highlight some of the key issues that we're struggling in the areas of gender and sexuality, and also some of the knowledge gaps. And so the first phase, the idea of knowledge generation, was, okay, well, if civil society, who are doing the wonderful work in advancing rights across the ground, sometimes they don't have the research that they need, or the facts that they need, the knowledge that they need. So what we wanted to do is sit them down and ask them, in conversation with multiple stakeholders, what information do you want from us? Let us bring academics and researchers to do this research, but you tell us what the question is, what are the questions you want asked? And so we went through a series of roundtables, and we identified 5 key themes. These key themes are the following. I won't go through all of them, but I will summarize them here. Sexual harassment and other forms of abusive behavior and discrimination. Barriers and facilitators affecting participation and representation of women and other marginalized groups. The 3rd theme is the current health and well-being practices and perceptions around gender and sexuality in Lebanon. The 4th theme is the perceptions, attitudes, and current practices of youth and young adults in relation to gender equality and sexuality in Lebanon. And the final theme, conceptual etymology and legal genealogy of gender, sexuality, and bodily rights. How do we begin to think about and conceptualize these various issues from an indigenous perspective with our own voices and not borrowing? I mean, we can look outside, but we want to really create an Arabic and a local conversation around these things. The way we came up with these questions was that we analyzed all of the multi-stakeholder roundtables that we had. Here's, if those academics who do qualitative research, is a word cloud, which is an analysis of the conversation that happened. I'm happy to say that we received 50 statements of interest of people who would like, organizations, researchers, who would like support through the grants funding. We have 36. Unfortunately, we can only fund 15 of them. But they span all 5 themes. This was phase 1. Phase 2, which is the last phase for next year, is about okay, we have all this information, we've shared it with our partners, we've shared it with the people we're engaging with, but now how do we get it out and how do we share it further? And so there are two key plans here. The first is to hold a 4-day conference in the spring of 2017. 2 days will be devoted for sharing this information on a broad platform. The 2 other days will be specifically devoted to training in a key area that is identified through this research. One area that's really popping up quite a bit, there's actually 2. It's about sexual harassment in public schools and private schools. How do we begin to address this, as well as universities? And the second key area that's popping up is how do we train journalists and media to speak about gender equity, and to speak about sexuality. So I think this may be the area we're moving into in terms of those 2 days of training. Finally, as a final step, I would really like to thank our KIP advisory board members. They are a wonderful group of volunteers who do the peer review, or the blind review of all of the proposals that we got, and who are a very wonderful group of interdisciplinary activists, primarily also academics, who help to support the KIP project. And finally, you know, Zana and I think of the KIP project as a train, it's a journey, and we want to invite you all to please come join us. We're here for 2 years to support what you're doing on gender and sexuality, so come to us, we're here to support you, just as we want to support the Gender Equity Group. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Charlotte. So we're going to take 2 questions. We have to wrap up. We're running over time, but I'll leave room for 2 questions that are burning. So do we have questions that are burning?
Very burning. Actually, it's a suggestion for you, Dr. Jamal, and you, Fida. Similar to what Dr. Sibai mentioned, and she addressed the intellectual part of the seniors. I think one of the things about executive is to really try to engage the seniors in starting their own small businesses. This is something that is very hot in the West, namely since they have their pension or their end of service, and they're still very experienced, very young, and very capable to really start developing their own business. It would create, first of all, most of them are women. It would create also employment. It would create gender participation. Thank you.
Thank you. I actually think this is a great synergy, and maybe you opened our eyes to potentially other synergies that we may potentially have.
University for seniors.
Exactly. Like this is, I love the idea because it's synergy between what Fida has presented and what Abla has presented. So could be a joint project. Thank you. It's a great idea. Okay. Other questions or comments?
Listening to Dr. Karam.
Yes, well.
Listening to Dr. Karam, I was thinking of the visibility is very important. If we use international and regional organizations for your project, first of all, they will send the idea around the world, and also they will be able to fund your project. It's very important to suggest to these international regional. The European Union is very interested in gender equity in the Middle East. I've worked with them also last summer and the summer before, and for 9 years. They're very interested in a suggestion coming from the Middle East. They were hesitant of coming themselves to suggest it, but if you propose to them, they will help you. They will be great promoters of gender equity in the EU and throughout the world. You have the EU and also the United Nations. The EU will be instrumental in funding the remaining part of your project. And I think AUB would be a great institution because it led many in many fields, and in this field, I think, as I said earlier, we could be really, they could grab the opportunity of leading again in gender equity. This is a great opportunity, but it has to be sent to the EU and to the delegation here, and I'm sure they'll be delighted because it's coming from you. They're not coming and, if you like, telling people what to do, but if you suggest, I think they will take it very far, because these issues are #1 issues in the EU for a long time, but coming from the Arab world, a suggestion like this one will be very appreciated.
Thank you. I'd just like to say we're very, for the KIP project, we're very grateful to the U.S. State Department, and we certainly are always, especially under President Khouri's new initiatives to promote gender equity, certainly will be following any leads in terms of funding. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you. So I turn it to Nadia to wrap up. Thank you.
I just want to thank Dima Jamali for chairing the panel, the last panelists, all of you for coming. But I want especially to thank Charlotte again. Charlotte, yes, Charlotte. And I want to thank Zainab Haidli, who was really behind a lot of this. Rula Shidia, Madonna, thank you guys. Thank you very much. I'd like to invite you to the reception if you would like to join us.